Why is mandatory taxation such an appallingly bad idea? There are many things in life that are so omnipresent that we don't even notice them. Let's take gravity, for example, that ever dependable downward force which ensures we don't spin off into space and without which the Earth wouldn't exist. We live our lives hardly ever giving a second thought. There are millions such constants of nature that I could list. But let's take a look at another reliable, ever-present companion, which came not from God, but from man, which should more properly be called mandatory taxation rather than just taxation, due to the fact that it's not exactly optional, as anyone who has declined to cough up will tell you. This phenomenon has become so ubiquitous, so all-pervasive, so constant, that we don't even notice it. Of course, we all grumble about how much we're paying from time to time, but we never actually ever dare question its existence. Like a force of nature, it just is. It even has its own maxim, which is, there are only two things certain in life: death and taxes. You have to admire the beautiful simplicity of that sentence, which sounds so confident, you'd feel like an idiot to show even a hint of skepticism. This statement cleverly diverts attention away from the fact that it's a completely false statement. I'm referring, of course, to the taxes part, not the death part. We're all aware that taxation hasn't always existed. Back in the old days, we handed over 90% of our labour and possessions to the king. But nowadays, of course, because we're more civilised, we hand over 90% of our labour and possessions to a centralised authority. And look what we have achieved. We have enough food to eat, roofs over our heads, central heating, working sanitation, police, courts, hospitals and schools looking after our needs. War is a thing of the past, at least in the West, kind of. And it's quite obvious to anyone with a working frontal cortex that this is all due to mandatory taxation and centralized government. Right? Well, maybe not. Taxes appeared after the rise of oil and gas powered machines, not before them. The money masters of this world saw the excess wealth that Western industrialization was producing and swiftly moved to harness it for their own ends. This was all done by creating and controlling centralized national governments. Strategies included bribery, trickery, theft, and mass murder. Vast industrial monopolies were conjured into existence by purchasing centralized political power, which sucked taxpayers dry. There's one concept that holds the secret to power, one word which encapsulates it. That word is centralization. If you want to enslave people, you've first got to centralize power. That's why one world government is so attractive as a concept to the psychopaths who run the big institutions. When it finally became possible for mankind to wage all-out mechanized war, what's the first thing he did? He initiated World Wars I and II and the subsequent endless wars we see that continue to this day. So, war is one thing that our taxes buy. We all know this, yet we still continue to vote for the same bottom feeders each and every election. It's not just war that we purchase, it's child trafficking, slavery, corruption, theft, murder, and the list goes on and on. But let's back up the truck a little bit here and ask a much simpler question about mandatory taxation. Is mandatory taxation immoral? The answer is undeniably yes, and this is easy to substantiate. Besides transgressing the 8th commandment, which says, "Thou shalt not steal," mandatory taxation is stealthily introduced into a newborn life, a baby, in the most pernicious and sneaky way, without informed consent. No one thinks to tell our wonderful little children they're going to be required to hand over 90% of their labour and possessions throughout their working lives. That is, after we put them through a government-mandated brainwashing programme known commonly as school. We don't even think to say thanks or we're sorry for putting you in this predicament. More like, shut up, pay your taxes, and don't even think about questioning it. But who's going to build and maintain the hospitals, the schools, and the roads, I hear you ask? Well, government doesn't build anything. All it does is take revenue and directs it at projects it feels like doing. That's after extracting all it can in terms of bribes, theft, and fat salaries for politicians and paper pushers. Chosen projects are designed to maintain their control, not for the benefit of taxpayers. Do we not already voluntarily pay for insurance, school books? Why on earth would we suddenly stop paying for stuff just because it's not supplied or paid for by government monopolies? That makes absolutely no logical sense whatsoever. What about law and order? That sounds like it would be a great idea, seeing as we're currently living in a lawless hellscape. We could pay people to run courts, police, and an army, ones that work. So let's do it. What about the poor? The poor would be taken care of by charities, except these charities wouldn't be fake, bloated, corrupt, opaque, and protected by regulations designed to keep away competition. What about the people who don't contribute? Individual contributors to social infrastructure and services will be publicly acknowledged and will naturally be given privileges. After all, they paid for things that benefited others. Those who can't contribute can avail of the good nature of others. It's what used to be called helping out, which has become a monetized thing. Because they're not being screwed by taxes, they will have plenty more money available to help other people. Those who won't contribute will find themselves looking for charity, and it will be up to the productive members of society as to how much they are willing to contribute towards them. Who will make decisions? We'll obviously hire the smartest and most capable people who have earned our trust to make decisions. If they don't do their job, they find themselves other suitable employment. If you've made it this far, thanks for listening to my rant. If you'd like to help out the show, please consider purchasing Tales from the Lockdown, One Man's Experiences Through One of the Strangest Periods in Human History, which is a book available in print on Amazon, also in audio on Audible, and you can go to talesfromthelockdown.com to download audio and EPUB book files. Thanks. Also, why not sign up to my blog, globalistgazette.substack.com, which is a roast of globalism, which I think you'll enjoy. Unless you don't have a sense of humour.